Hello and welcome to Senior Wise Journey. There's a quiet phenomenon happening in homes across America, a silent drift that settles into marriages that have weathered decades. It's the space that grows between a husband and wife, after the kids have gone, after the careers have wound down. It often starts with her. A coolness, a distance you can't quite name, maybe even a flicker of resentment in eyes that once held only adoration. You might feel confused, hurt, or even blindsided. You might be asking yourself, after all these years, what went wrong? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on this deeply personal and often painful experience. This isn't about blame, it's about understanding. We're going to explore the 4 profound reasons why many women emotionally withdraw from their husbands in their senior years. This is a journey for both partners, a roadmap to understanding the heart of the woman you've shared your life with, and perhaps a guide to finding your way back to each other, because it's never, ever too late to reconnect. Let's begin this vital conversation together. Part 1. The vanishing horizon, when shared goals fade away. For 30, maybe 40 years, you operated as a team with a clear, defined mission. It was you two against the world, building a life brick by brick. The mission objectives were crystal clear: raise the kids, pay the mortgage, climb the career ladder, save for a rainy day. These goals were the scaffolding that held your partnership together. They required constant communication, negotiation, and shared effort. You were the co-captains of a bustling, demanding enterprise called family. Every day brought a new challenge, a soccer practice to get to, a leaky faucet to fix, a report card to discuss, a promotion to celebrate. Your lives were intrinsically woven together by a shared to-do list, a common horizon you were always striving toward. Then, one day, the scaffolding comes down. The kids are grown, with lives and mortgages of their own. The house is quiet, maybe too quiet. Retirement arrives, not as the gentle sunset you imagined, but as a vast, empty expanse. The shared mission that defined your existence for decades is simply over. And in its place, a profound and unsettling silence can emerge. This is the first major reason for the emotional drift, the evaporation of shared purpose. For many men, retirement is seen as the finish line. It's a time to finally put your feet up, to disengage from the relentless striving and just be. It's a well-deserved rest. The golf course beckons, the fishing boat is waiting, the recliner calls your name. The era of planning and building is over. The era of relaxation has begun. But for many women, this perspective can feel like a devastating abandonment. She doesn't necessarily see retirement as an end, but as a new beginning, a chapter 3. Her energy, once poured into children and home, is now free. She's asking, what's next for us? She's dreaming of the things you always said you'd do someday. Maybe it's traveling through Italy, taking that ballroom dancing class, volunteering for a cause you both believe in, or even starting a small garden in the backyard. She is looking for a new horizon to journey toward, together. When her suggestions are met with passivity or a lack of enthusiasm, it's not just a difference of opinion, it feels like a rejection of a shared future. The man who was once her partner in everything is now content to be a spectator. The conversation shifts from "what should we do this weekend" to "what are you going to do today?" The we that was the bedrock of the marriage begins to dissolve into a you and a me. This isn't about grand, expensive gestures. The new shared purpose doesn't have to be a world cruise. It can be as simple as deciding to walk together for 20 minutes every evening. It can be tackling a new recipe together once a week. It can be planning a small weekend trip to a nearby town you've never explored. The activity itself is secondary to the intention behind it. The act of turning towards each other and saying, "Let's do this, you and me." Without this conscious effort to create new shared goals, a void opens up. He settles into his routine, and she, feeling her own dreams for this new chapter dismissed, starts building a life independent of him. She joins a book club, takes a pottery class, plans trips with her girlfriends. These are healthy, wonderful things for any individual to do. But when they are born from a place of quiet resignation, a realization that her partner is no longer an active participant in her future, they also mark the beginning of an emotional separation. She stops seeing him as her partner in adventure and starts seeing him as the man who sits in the living room while she goes out and lives her life. The resentment that builds is not because he is relaxing, but because he seems to have retired from the partnership itself. The journey they were on together has stalled, and she is left feeling like she's traveling the road alone. Part 2. The sound of silence. The slow erosion of communication. In the early days of your relationship, you talked for hours. You wanted to know everything about her childhood memories, her secret fears, her wildest dreams. You didn't just listen to her words, you listened to the meaning behind them. Communication was the vibrant, thrilling current that connected your two worlds. Over the years, that current can slow to a trickle and eventually become stagnant. This is the second, and perhaps most insidious, reason for the great emotional divide: the death of deep communication. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow, creeping erosion. The demands of life, jobs, kids, bills, naturally shift the focus of your conversations. Talk becomes transactional. It's about logistics, scheduling, and problem solving. Did you pick up the dry cleaning? The car is making that noise again. Don't forget we have the grandkids on Saturday. This is functional talk, necessary for running the household, but it is not connective talk. It's the language of business partners, not soulmates. For a long time, this is manageable. Life is busy, and you're both in the trenches together. But once the kids are gone and the careers are over, the functional talk has less and less to cover. And if the habit of deep, emotional conversation hasn't been maintained, you're left with a gaping silence. You sit in the same room, watching the same television show, but you are miles apart. For her, this silence can be deafening. When she tries to share something, a story about her day, a thought-provoking article she read, a worry that's been on her mind and is met with a grunt from behind a newspaper, or a distracted "uh-huh" from in front of the television, a tiny piece of the connection chips away. It's not that you're intentionally being cruel. You might just be tired, distracted, or you may simply not recognize the bid for connection she is making. A bid for connection is a term from relationship psychology. It's any attempt one partner makes to get the attention, affirmation, or affection of the other. It can be as small as saying, "Wow, look at that beautiful sunset," or as significant as saying, "I'm worried about my sister's health." When these bids are consistently ignored or turned away from, the person making them eventually stops trying. Why would she share her inner world with someone who doesn't seem interested in visiting? She starts to feel that her thoughts, her feelings, and her experiences are no longer important to you. The person who was once her primary confidant has become a stranger with whom she shares a roof. The loneliness a woman can feel in a marriage devoid of real conversation is one of the most profound and painful kinds of loneliness there is. It's the feeling of being unseen and unheard by the one person you expect to see and hear you most clearly. This is where resentment plants its seeds. Every ignored bid is a drop of water on that seed. Every time she tells a story to your back, every time her attempt at conversation is met with silence, that seed is nourished. She starts to internalize the message that she is boring, that her life is uninteresting, that she doesn't matter. To protect herself from the constant, low-grade pain of this rejection, she begins to build a wall. She stops sharing. She stops asking you about your day because the exchange feels hollow and performative. The tragedy is that many men don't even realize it's happening. You might think everything is fine because there's no fighting, but the absence of conflict is not the same as the presence of connection. A quiet house can be a peaceful house, or it can be a house where two people have given up on trying to reach each other. Rekindling communication isn't about non-stop chatter. It's about rediscovering curiosity. It's about putting down the phone, turning off the television, looking her in the eye when she's talking, and asking a follow-up question. It's about sending the message, "What you think and feel still matters to me more than anything." Part 3. The invisible neglect, starving the heart of affection. There is a form of neglect that leaves no visible bruises but can be just as damaging to the spirit. It's quiet, subtle, and often unintentional. It's emotional neglect, and it is the third powerful force that can drive a wife to emotionally withdraw. This isn't about forgetting a birthday or an anniversary, though that can be part of it. It's a deeper, more pervasive pattern of inattention to her emotional life. It's what happens when a husband stops seeing his wife as a whole person with a rich, complex inner world that is separate from his own. After decades of marriage, a dangerous complacency can set in. You know her so well, you think. You can predict her reactions, you know her habits, you know what she likes for dinner. You've got her figured out. But this sense of knowing can be a trap. It can cause you to stop being curious about her. You stop asking questions because you assume you already know the answers. Emotional neglect is the absence of that curiosity. It's when you stop asking, "How was your day?" and really listening to the answer. It's when she's visibly upset, and you either don't notice or you avoid it because it makes you uncomfortable. It's when she accomplishes something she's proud of, maybe in her garden or with a community project, and you offer a passing that's nice without grasping the effort and passion she poured into it. For her, this feels like slowly becoming invisible. She is no longer seen as a dynamic, evolving individual, but as a fixed part of the household furniture. Her emotional state is treated as background noise rather than vital information about the health of your shared life. She might try to express her needs or her hurts, but if they are consistently met with indifference or a placating, don't worry about it. She learns that her feelings are a burden. Think about the emotional food a relationship needs to survive: validation, empathy, appreciation, and affection. Emotional neglect is the slow starvation of these essential nutrients. Validation is the act of saying, "I understand why you feel that way. Your feelings make sense." Empathy is feeling with her, sharing in her joy or her sorrow. Appreciation is actively noticing and verbalizing the things you value about her, not just for what she does, but for who she is. Affection is the simple, non-sexual touch, the arm around her shoulder, the hand held while watching television, that says, "We are connected." When these things wither away, she begins to starve emotionally. A woman who feels emotionally malnourished in her own marriage will eventually seek sustenance elsewhere or simply shut down to conserve her energy. The coolness you perceive is a defense mechanism. It's a way of protecting her heart from the constant ache of being emotionally unseen. She pulls away because leaning in has become too painful. The expectation of being met with warmth, interest, and care has been replaced by the reality of being met with a void. This resentment is particularly potent because it feels so unfair. She has likely spent decades being the primary emotional caretaker of the family. She was attuned to the kids' moods, she soothed their fears, she celebrated their triumphs. She was likely the one who remembered your mother's birthday and asked about your stressful day at work. She has been the keeper of the family's emotional well-being. To find herself in her senior years with no one tending to her emotional well-being, especially not her life partner, can feel like the ultimate betrayal. It's a lonely, one-sided arrangement that she simply no longer has the energy or the will to maintain. Reversing this requires a conscious, deliberate effort to start seeing her again, not as an extension of yourself or the household, but as the fascinating, complex, and beloved woman you chose all those years ago. Part 4. The stone wall. When your partner becomes a fortress. Imagine you are trying to have a conversation, but the person you are speaking to has built a wall of stone in front of them. You can talk to the wall, you can yell at the wall, you can plead with the wall, but the wall does not respond. It remains silent, impassive, and impenetrable. This is stonewalling, and it is the fourth and final horseman of the marital apocalypse we are discussing today. It is one of a relationship's most toxic and destructive patterns, and it is a primary reason a woman will completely shut down and pull away. Stonewalling is more than just the silent treatment. It's a complete withdrawal from any meaningful interaction when a difficult topic is raised. It happens when she tries to bring up an issue, something that's been bothering her, a problem in the relationship, a feeling she's been having, and you shut down. You might physically leave the room. You might pick up your phone and start scrolling. You might turn up the volume on the television. Or you might simply sit there, staring blankly ahead, offering no verbal or nonverbal response. The message is loud and clear. This conversation is over. I am not participating. For the woman experiencing this, it is maddening and heartbreaking. She has likely spent days, or even weeks, gathering the courage to bring up this difficult subject. She has rehearsed it in her mind, trying to find the right words to be gentle and non-accusatory. When her vulnerable attempt to connect and solve a problem is met with a fortress of silence, it feels like a profound rejection of her and her feelings. It tells her that her perspective is not only wrong, but is so unacceptable that it cannot even be discussed. So, why do men stonewall? It's rarely born from a malicious desire to inflict pain. More often than not, it is a self-preservation technique rooted in a deep-seated fear of conflict. Many men are raised to be fixers. When a problem is presented, especially an emotional one they don't know how to solve, they feel overwhelmed, inadequate, and anxious. The emotional intensity of the conversation feels like a flood, and their only coping mechanism is to shut down completely to stop from drowning. It's a physiological response. Their heart rate increases, stress hormones flood their system, and they go into a state of fight, flight, or freeze. Stonewalling is the freeze, but while the intent may be to de-escalate or avoid a fight, the impact is devastating. It derails any possibility of resolution. The problem doesn't go away. It just gets buried alive, where it festers and grows. For her, it communicates that there is no hope for change. How can you solve a problem with someone who refuses to even acknowledge it exists? It creates a vicious cycle. She feels a problem, she tries to discuss it. He stonewalls. She feels unheard and rejected. Her frustration and resentment build. And the next time she tries to bring it up, she is more emotional, which in turn makes him feel more flooded and more likely to stonewall again. After this cycle repeats itself enough times, she gives up. She learns that there is no point in trying to talk to the wall. The emotional withdrawal you see is not just her being cold or moody. It is a sign of surrender. She has concluded that her partner is unavailable for the most important conversations of their shared life. She stops fighting for the relationship because she has been shown time and again that she is fighting alone. The emotional distance becomes a permanent fixture. She may remain in the marriage physically, but she has checked out emotionally. She has built her own wall around her heart to protect it from the pain of being shut out. The silence you once used to protect yourself from conflict has now become the very fabric of your relationship. Breaking down the stone wall requires immense courage from the man who built it. It means learning to stay in the conversation even when it's uncomfortable. It means learning to say, "I'm feeling overwhelmed right now. Can we take a 20-minute break and come back to this?" instead of just shutting down. It means choosing the potential discomfort of a difficult conversation over the guaranteed loneliness of a silent partnership. So, we've walked through the 4 quiet currents that can pull a marriage apart in its later years: the loss of shared goals, the erosion of deep communication, the sting of emotional neglect, and the fortress of stonewalling. If any of this resonated with you, please know you are not alone. And more importantly, there is hope. This isn't a final diagnosis. It's a map that shows you where you might have gone off course. The journey back begins with a single step, a choice to see, to listen, and to be curious about your partner once again. It's never too late to build a new horizon, to break the silence, to nourish the heart, and to tear down the walls. Your story isn't over. You have the power to write a new, more connected final chapter together. Thank you for joining us on Senior Wise Journey. If this message touched you, please give this video a like and share it with someone who might need to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more insights on living a vibrant, meaningful life after 60.